Hi there, I'm Cath. Welcome to my channel made by Cath Craft. Thank you very much for joining me today for my latest video. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing what I've been sewing in April. So I've got 3 garments to share with you that I finished sewing in April. So it's a slightly quieter month for me on the sewing front, mainly because my children had 2 weeks off school. It was their Easter holidays. We were quite busy during those 2 weeks, including going away. So sewing kind of went on the back burner for those 2 weeks, but I did manage to finish these 3 garments over the month, and I'm really looking forward to sharing them all with you. And I've also got one knitting project I finished in April too, which is a bit of a fun one, and I'll include that at the end of the video. So that's what I've got to share, but I'll first of all start off the video as usual with what I'm wearing today. And today I've got on quite a relaxed casual outfit. I've got on some ready to wear jeans and a handmade sweatshirt, and I made the sweatshirt using this pattern here, which is the Jarrah sweatshirt pattern by Megan Nielsen. And I've always said this is my favourite sweatshirt pattern, but then late last year Closet Core released their Mile End sweatshirt pattern, which I love too, so it's hard to choose a favourite between those two. But I definitely have a big soft spot for this pattern, and I love the fact that it comes with loads of different variations too. So it's quite a relaxed fit sweatshirt with a dropped shoulder. It's got all these different options you can make. The version I'm wearing today is this version here, the kind of classic simple sweatshirt with a crew neckline and cuffs and a bottom band. But you can also make a version with these split cuffs and then a dipped hem at 2 levels. And there's this tie front version here, which the model's wearing, which I think is really pretty. And there's also this kind of cosy funnel necked version, which is perfect for cold winter days. So I think it's a really nice flexible pattern, and depending on what version you choose and what fabric you choose, it can look really different. So you can get a lot of different sweatshirts out of this one I have. And it's got a great size range too. I've got the paper pattern, which goes from a size 0 to a size 20, but this pattern is also available in the Megan Nielsen curve range, which goes from size 14 to 30. So a really good size range on this one. And the version I made, like I mentioned, is a kind of classic sweatshirt because I made it using this fun print, and I kind of wanted the print to kind of stand out on this one rather than the details of the pattern. So it went for the classic sweatshirt, and this print is a See You at 6 French terry fabric, and I got it from Lamazi Fabrics. They stock a nice range of See You at 6 fabrics. It's really cute. It's got this pale pink background and it's got these slices. I think they're supposed to be oranges, but I think they look a bit more like lemons. They're quite yellowy. So yeah, they're quite fun with this kind of oversized fruit design on. I couldn't resist it. And I've got the matching ribbing too, which I've used for the cuffs and the neckband and the bottom band. And I don't think this actual print is available in stock anymore at Lamazi Fabrics. I think See You at 6 usually release a new collection every 6 months. So they don't tend to run their prints for too long. But they've always got in stock some lovely See You at 6 French terry prints. And I've got a couple of different See You at 6 French terry prints that I've made into sweatshirts. And they're really nice to wear. They're not too thick, so they're perfect for kind of layering up. They wash really nicely, and I just think they're really fun. So I'll link the See You at 6 collection down below in case you fancy checking them out. They are a little bit pricey, but I just couldn't resist this print. I think it's really fun. And in terms of sizing on this pattern, I always make the size 0. That's designed for a bust 32 inches, waist 24 inches and hips 34 inches. And my measurements are 32, 26, 36. But I find it's quite an oversized sweatshirt, so it doesn't really matter that my measurements are slightly larger because it still comes up fairly oversized on me. And the only adjustments I made to this sweatshirt was I always lengthen the sleeves on this pattern, I think by about an inch. And I also lengthen the body on it by a couple of inches, I think, because it does come up on the cropped side. So I'll put a picture up of how it looks like on me. I really like it. This print's quite cheerful, and I always think it's a bit of fun when I wear it. So that is what I'm wearing today. But now I'll move on to sharing with you my 3 garments I sewed in April. So the first make that I've got to share with you that I sewed up in April is one using a pattern from this book here, which is the Breaking the Pattern book by Named Clothing. And this is a book that I've had for a couple of years now. I think I got it as a Christmas present 2 years ago. But I'd never sewn anything from this book until this month when I finally tried one of the patterns. I've spent a lot of time leafing through the book and admiring the pictures and thinking, oh, I'd like to sew this and I'd like to sew that. And so I decided this year when I was planning my Make 9 list, which is a list of 9 patterns I wanted to sew this year, that I'd include a pattern from this book to really just give me the impetus to get started in trying something from the book. And the pattern I decided to sew was the Saraste shirt dress. What's cool about this book is, for each of the patterns, it comes with different variations. So the Saraste, you can make as a shirt or a top or a shirt dress. But I do love a shirt dress, and I thought that'd be a fun one to try. So I'll show you the line drawings here so you can see it's a shirt dress with some really pretty details. So it's a shirt dress with a gathered skirt, but the gathering only starts from here. It's got these flat fronted bits at the front, which makes a princess seam bodice, and then comes down all the way down the skirt with a button placket at the front. At the back it's got a yoke, and it's got short sleeves and a sort of midi length, and the collar's got this pretty little ruffle detail at the front too. So I thought it had a few different interesting features for a shirt dress and would be a fun one to try. In terms of sizing, this book has a size range of UK 6 to UK 22, and the largest size is for bust 46, waist 40 and hips 49. And for the Saraste shirt dress, they recommend light to medium weight woven fabrics. So I had to look around and found a really pretty fabric that I thought would make a really lovely shirt dress. And it is a Dashwood Studio cotton lawn. I do love a cotton lawn for a shirt dress because I think it's crisp enough to sort of hold the shape and the structure, but also soft enough to make it quite comfortable and summery. So here is the print I chose, and here is my Saraste shirt dress, and I'm really happy with how it turned out actually. I'll hold it close so you can see the print. It's a really pretty sort of light grey colour. It's got lots of little dots on it in different colours. There's like a white and a dark grey, a dark red, a teal and a navy and a soft pink. And they're really pretty colours together. And you can see I went for navy buttons on it. I thought they'd show up nicely. They'd tone in with the dark navy spots, but they'd also show up nicely because you could see the feature of the shirt dress on the front. I'm really happy with how those go with the dress. This fabric was really nice to sew with. I do love a cotton lawn. It's a really nice lightweight one and really nice quality. As I mentioned, it's a Dashwood Studio cotton lawn. I got it from Minerva. They have a really lovely range of Dashwood Studio cotton lawns. I think this is still in stock, so I'll link it down below. There's also, I think, a navy colourway as well of it, which is really pretty too. But yeah, it's sewed up really nicely actually. You can see the details here. There's the ruffle on the collar here, and I also added a ruffle on the sleeve too, just for fun. You can see if I hold that up too. Yeah, I think it's a nice extra detail. And the way I calculated the ruffle on the sleeve was I made it the same depth as the collar ruffle, and then I calculated the ratio of the collar to the ruffle length, and then I applied the same ratio between the sleeve length and the ruffle, just so I could get a similar amount of gathering to the sleeve ruffle as I could do to the collar ruffle, if that makes sense. So it's a lot of fun to put together. You can see the flat front there, and it's got the gathering starting from here, and there's princess seams going up here. And it's got the yoke at the back too. And it just came together really nicely actually. It was a really fun one to construct. The collar went in really nicely. The whole construction I really enjoyed. And I found the instructions in the pattern book really good. The only thing I'd mention is you do have to jump around a little bit within the book, because for some steps, say like sewing the button placket, it will refer you to a different section of the book, another pattern. So just say see page X for how to sew this bit. So it's a little bit of jumping around, but as long as you don't mind that, I found the instructions are really good and just came together really well, and I really enjoyed sewing it. So yeah, this is my version, and it's midi length, as I mentioned with the pattern. I did cut this fabric to be midi length, but I did half expect that I might end up chopping it off to be above the knee, because that's usually a length I prefer to wear. But actually, once I tried this one on, I really like the midi length and I'm really happy with it, so I don't think I'm going to change it. So it's definitely a garment that's maybe converted me to maybe a midi length, and I might try a bit more perhaps going forward. So yes, and that's my garment. In terms of sizing, the size range for the Breaking the Pattern book goes from a UK 6 to a UK 22, and the largest size is for a bust 46, waist 40 and a hips 49. And in terms of my sizing, I went purely based on my measurements, which put me at a size 1 at the bust and a size 2 at the waist and hips. See, I went with those measurements, and I didn't make any adjustments other than I scooped out a little bit more space at the bottom of the armhole, just because I wasn't making a toile of this one. I thought I'm going to cut straight into my fabric, and I do sometimes find that sleeves can come up a little bit tight on me, so I thought I'd just do that just to be on the safe side. So I'm not sure that I need to, because I do find there's plenty of room here, but I thought there's no harm really. It doesn't really change the look of the garment, just that extra little scooping out that bit of fabric. So yeah, it was a really enjoyable sew, and I'll put a picture up of me wearing it so you can see what it looked like. It's really comfy to wear. I think it'll be a lovely one for summer. I think it'll be perfect maybe with a jean jacket put on top and either some trainers or some flip-flops. And yeah, I'm really pleased I did keep it the midi length, because I actually do really like that. So that's my first make, the Saraste shirt dress by Named Clothing. It definitely makes me think I'd like to make some more patterns from this book. It's actually only the second ever Named Clothing pattern I've made. Before this, I'd only made the Kylo wrap dress, and I love that one too. So it definitely makes me enthusiastic to make more patterns by named clothing. I do find particularly the fit of the bodice on this one, how the princess seems fit, and just overall where the actual bottom of the bodice lies on my body, it just seems to fit me quite well. I think it's a good, maybe named clothing, their kind of pattern block is a good fit for me, which is really nice to know. So I'm definitely going to be browsing through this book and maybe planning what I might like to make next on the garment front from there. So the next garment I've got to share with you that I made in April is a top that I made using this pattern here. It's a pattern I've made before, and it is the cuff top pattern by the Assembly line. It's a really nice top pattern for woven fabrics. It's quite a simple, speedy sew, and I think it looks really nice on. But yeah, it's quite a straight fit, boxy top. It's got a boat neckline, and its main feature is these oversized elasticated cuffs, which I really like. It's also got this seam line that runs down the front and the back of the garment, so I think this top lends itself quite well to colour blocking. And my first version I made of this pattern actually, I made using scraps from other projects. I made in a sort of peachy pink colourway and then a navy colourway of the same fabric on the different sides, and I really enjoyed sewing that. I enjoy wearing that version. So it lends itself really well to colour blocking. Also, if you do choose to use the same fabric across, I think you can have fun with this seam line by doing it in a kind of interesting top stitching thread, just to kind of make it a little bit pop and stand out. It's a really nice top. In terms of sizing, it goes from a size extra small up to an extra, extra large, and the largest size is for bust 49 inches, waist 45 inches, and hips 54 inches. But like I mentioned, I've sewed it before, and I've sewn it a couple of times. And both times I made it before, I've made it in a cotton lawn fabric, but I really fancy going a different fabric, and I really fancy particularly sewing it in a needle cord style fabric, so I thought that would look really nice for more wintry weather and maybe layered up with a sort of polar neck top underneath and that sort of thing. So I was really lucky to be gifted some needle cord fabric by Minerva, and it's a fabric from their cotton baby cord range. It's a really fine needle cord fabric. And I've sewn a couple of dresses using fabric from their cotton baby cord range before, and I really love that fabric. It's really nice and soft, and it's fairly lightweight as it's kind of a fine baby cord, so I thought it'd be great for a top. And it was quite tricky choosing a colour actually, because there's a really lovely range of colours. There's a lovely royal blue, a really nice mustard, a deep aubergine. Loads of pretty colours. But eventually I decided to make my cuff top in this dark red baby cord fabric. So here is my version here in the dark red baby cord. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'll hold it back here so you can see the whole thing. It's got the elasticated cuffs, and I decided to keep the centre seam. I did think about maybe just cutting this fabric on the fold and leaving out the centre seam, but I thought it's quite a pretty detail, so I did keep it in. But I didn't use any bright top stitching thread for this one. I thought I'd just tone it in because I wanted it to be quite a simple top and to let the fabric speak for itself. And I'm really pleased how it turned out. Actually, I think the kind of velvetyness of the baby cord gives it quite a luxe look to it. And I think it'll be perfect for layering in winter or just wearing on its own with a pair of jeans in slightly milder weather. I think that'll work well too. I think the colour's really pretty. In terms of sizing, I made the size extra small on this pattern, which is designed for bust 32 inches, waist 25.6 inches, and hips 36.4 inches. So that's pretty much my measurements. I think with this pattern, definitely the bust and the hips are the important measurements because it's quite a straight fit, so it's not designed to be that tight around your waist at all. But yeah, it came together really nicely, and the only adjustments I make on this pattern are, whenever I make this pattern, I bring in the neckline slightly because it is quite a wide boat neck, and I just bring it in slightly to make sure it will cover my bra strap. So I think I maybe moved it in by 1.5 centimetres each side and just redrew the curve slightly based on that, bring it in slightly. I also have dipped the front neckline by about 1 centimetre because when I was looking on Instagram before I made my first version, it did look like it came up quite high, and I thought that might bother me a little bit, so I just took it down slightly to make it slightly more comfortable on my neckline. And the only other change I made was that I've actually used 4 centimetre wide elastic instead of 5 centimetre wide elastic for the cuffs, just purely because I had that in stock and I quite like the width of the elastic on here. I think it could take being a bit bigger like the pattern, but I think it's absolutely fine and still makes a feature with like that. And for this version, I actually cropped it off a little bit. For my first 2 versions, I made it slightly longer, but I decided to go for a slightly more cropped look on this one. So I'll put it up picture so you can see how it looks like on. It's really comfy to wear. This baby cord is lovely and soft and feels nice on my skin. So yeah, I'm really happy with how this one turned out. And I mentioned this fabric was gifted to me by Minerva, and it was gifted to me as part of my Minerva ambassador role in exchange for me writing a blog post about this top. So I'll link that blog post down below. It's available to read on the Minerva website now. And in that post, I'm talking in detail about the adjustments I made to the pattern and how I found the fabric to sew with, and any hints and tips I have. So if you fancy checking that out, I'll link it down below. But yeah, I'm really glad I decided to give this cuff top a go in a baby cord. I'm really happy with how it turned out. So the final garment I sewed in April is actually another shirt dress. I do love shirt dresses. I really enjoy the process of sewing them, and I really enjoy wearing them too. So it's nice to sew up to in April. And this shirt dress I made using a pattern that I've had for a while, and I've really enjoyed sewing in the past, but I hadn't made for ages. So it's really nice to revisit it. And it's this pattern here. It is the Myosotis shirt dress pattern by Deer and Doe. It's a really nice, interesting shirt dress pattern with some pretty details, a bit like the Saraste in terms of, yeah, having some interesting details to it. The Myosotis is designed to be a slightly oversized shirt dress. It's got this button-down bodice with a band collar. It's got darts both at the waist and the side, so it gives quite a lot of shaping on the bodice. It's got a gathered skirt with pockets, and you can either make it with a 2-tiered sort of gathered skirt or 1-tier simple gathered skirt. And you can either make it short-sleeved or adding a sleeve ruffle too. So there's nice variations. Yeah, really interesting pattern. I know it's a popular one. And I've made it a couple of times before in double gauze fabric, so I was quite keen to try it in another fabric. I think it's designed for any sort of light to medium weight woven fabrics. And in terms of size range, I've got the pattern which goes from a European 34 to a European 46. But if you go on the Deer and Doe's website, you can actually download a couple of larger sizes in PDF, which takes up to a European 52, which is for a bust 46 inches, waist 38 inches and hips 48 inches. So for my latest version of the Myosotis dress, I decided to use some fabric that I'd had in my stash since just before Christmas. And I bought the fabric on a bit of a whim just because I thought it was really pretty. And when I bought it, I had in mind I'd like to make some sort of dress. I think I bought 2.5 metres just to make sure I had plenty to make a dress. And I always had the Myosotis in mind for it. So I got to April and thought now would be a nice time of year to sew it up so I can enjoy it as we get to the milder weather when shirt dresses work really well. And this is the fabric I used, and here is my Myosotis dress. It's quite a bright one actually. This is a yarn dyed cotton fabric, like I mentioned I got from Sew Me Sunshine. So because it's yarn dyed, it's quite nice. The colour goes all the way through, it's not printed on. And so here is my Myosotis, and for my version I went for the simple short sleeve, and I also went for the simple 1-tier skirt just because I thought this fabric is quite bright, so I didn't want to add too many extra details on. And in a recent video, I think I shared I had 2 button options for this fabric. I got this red colourway and also a kind of bright yellow colour of the button. And I had been thinking I was going to go for the yellow buttons. But then when I got to the point of pretty much finishing the dress and all I needed to do was sew on the buttons, I was getting a bit nervous about how bright it was. And when I put the yellow buttons on, it looked even brighter. And I was thinking, oh, I'm not sure, it might be a bit too much for me. So I went for the red buttons. I thought they'd tone a little bit more. And they don't look quite as bright to make the dress even brighter than it already is. So yeah, this is my Myosotis dress. It took a bit of a while, this one, particularly at the cutting out stage, to make sure it was all pattern matched. As you can see, I've kind of tried to make sure that everything's neatly aligned on the side seams too, where it goes round. And on the back on the collar there too. I tried to make sure it was all fairly neatly aligned so that the check kind of looked smart and sharp. And in terms of the sizing on this one, I make the smallest size on the Myosotis dress. That's actually quite a lot smaller than my measurements. The smallest size is designed for, well, bust 31.5 inches, which isn't too much smaller than me, but then waist 23.5 inches and hips 33.75 inches, which is quite a lot smaller than me. But the reason I've always sized down is because I know this one is designed to be oversized, and I've never really wanted it to be oversized on me. And I actually also added on waist ties. I just drafted a quick waist tie pattern piece to add on, just to cinch it in a bit more, so you can kind of put it in around the back of it, just to give it a bit more shape to it, which is how I prefer it. And the only other change I made was to lengthen the bodice slightly by about 1 inch or so, just to bring it down to just above my natural waist, because I think it does come up a little bit cropped. So yeah, it was a really fun one to sew. This cotton was lovely and stable to sew with. I don't think this cotton is in stock anymore on Sew Me Sunshine. I'll double check. But yeah, I don't think it's in stock anymore, but I'll link the Sew Me Sunshine website because they've always got nice new fabrics coming in anyway. So yeah, this is my Myosotis. I really enjoyed revisiting this pattern. It's a lovely one to sew. But saying that, even though I really enjoyed sewing and I do love the fabric, I'm still a little bit on the fence about this one. I think mainly because it is really quite bright with the colours. So yeah, I think I need to have a go at figuring out how I style it. I'm thinking maybe it's one I might end up wearing with like a black cardigan and black tights, just to sort of tone it down a little bit. I'm just not sure. Yeah, it's quite me having made it, which is a bit of a shame really. But I'll put a picture up of me wearing it. Let me know what you think, whether you think it's a bit too bright or whether you think it's okay. I'm just not sure. So it was a really enjoyable sew, but I think it's one I need to have a bit of a think about as to whether I'll get much wear out of it or not, which is a bit of a shame. So those are the 3 garments that I sewed up in April. And then I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I've also got one knitting project to share with you too that I completed in April. And it's one that I'd actually started knitting ages ago and then I somehow put aside and I'd forgotten about, and I rediscovered it and thought I really need to finish that one. It's a bit of a fun one, and it's one from this book here, which is the Knitted Cats and Dogs book by Sue Stratford. And if you've been subscribed to my channel and watching my videos for a while, you'll know that I've got this book and also this one here too, Knitted Animal Books by Sue Stratford. I started with this one, went on to get this one. And I've been working my way through the knitted cats and dogs in these books at my children's request. They've been quite small, fun projects, and gradually my children have built up a collection in each of their rooms of different knitted animals from these books. And they are, yeah, definitely a bit of fun and something that's easy to pick up and put down. So I do quite enjoy knitting them for them. But I don't really enjoy the sewing up stage because it can be quite fiddly because they're quite small. And yeah, I definitely enjoy the knitting stage a bit more. So I got all the bits knitted out on the latest make and I just hadn't got around to sewing them up. So I finally did that this month. And my daughter was quite pleased because it was one for her. So it's a knitted pup from this book here. And I'll show you the pattern she chose quite a while ago. It's this one here. It is the pink poodle. So my daughter's big on the colour pink. So it was one I knew she probably would like me to knit up. And here is how the little pooch has turned out. So yeah, here is her pink poodle. And I think she's a cute one actually. I'm really pleased how she's turned out. So she's knitted a mixture of sports weight yarn for the legs and the head and things, and then this really lovely fluffy yarn. I can't remember what it's called or where I got it from. I'll try and find out. It's such fun to sew with actually. I thought it would be tricky because it's so fluffy and you can't see the stitches, but actually it's just so much fun to see it kind of coming together in this lovely soft fluffy fabric. And she's really cute. She's got these little floppy ears, little eyes. I think I went for pink coloured eyes around the edge, and then a little sort of pom-pom tail too. So yeah, I think she almost looks like she's ready to exercise, like she's got little sweatbands on her arms and legs. But yeah, my daughter's really pleased with her, and she's got a few other knitted pink dogs and cats, so she'll add nicely to the collection in her room. So that was a fun little project. I have got some yarn and a couple more of these planned that I haven't got started on, and they've just been sitting there, and I've been working on a cardigan for myself for a while. So once I've sort of got that cardigan finished, I'll probably commence making those other cats and dogs from these books. I can't even remember which ones my children have chosen now because it's quite a while since they chose and I ordered the yarn. So they'll probably like it if I do start on those soon. So hopefully in some future makes videos, I'll be showing a few more cats and dogs that I've been making. But yeah, we'll see when I get around to those. But yeah, I quite like her. I think she's quite a cutie. So yeah, she's a fun make. So those are all of my makes for April. 2 shirt dresses, a woven top and a little knitted poodle. So I hope you've enjoyed hearing a little bit about my April makes, and if you have, I would love it if you would give this video a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, then thank you very much for stopping by. If you've enjoyed hearing me talk about my sewing and knitting projects and would like to hear more about my sewing and knitting adventures going forward, I would love it if you would consider subscribing to my channel. And also if you press the bell icon, that means you'll be notified when my future videos come out. So thanks again to everyone for watching. I hope you all have a lovely day and I'll hopefully see you again soon. Bye!